Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I thank you so much for liking and subscribing, just being along for the journey. I know the conversation of race is not an easy one. I know, okay? This week has been just crazy. I think that with everything obviously going on in our country right now, with us having to be isolated, the COVID thing, I think that emotions or intentions are high. I think sometimes we can think that this all started with George Floyd. It didn't. This is starting from a long time where people have tried to scream for help and it was just ignored. And I feel like that now these things come to light a bit more, maybe because we're isolated and we really don't have a choice but to stare these things in the face and really just face what's happening in our country today. I'm probably going to sound like I'm a little all over the place, but there's some things that I do want to say. So my last video about Cannon Hinton, the 5-year-old that was murdered, I understand that people didn't agree with me on that. I still stand by what I said in that video. I do believe that it's true. I do think that it is horrible to compare tragedies, especially when, you know, they're just two completely different tragedies. And sometimes I feel like tragedies can be used as a weapon from most people. People will try to weaponize things that shouldn't be weaponized. And honestly, it just removes the empathy out of it. Like, we're so quick sometimes to want to make comparisons that we don't even show empathy. And I always, me personally, my personal convictions are, what am I willing to do? What am I going to do? You know? And so, you know, I personally gave to his family's GoFundMe, Cannon Hinton, because I'm not going to just sit around and talk about it. If I really am praying and caring for that family, I'm going to do whatever is in my reach to do. And I feel like we should all do that. I feel like that if we really care about something, we shouldn't just be talking about it. We should be walking it out. It's important for us to make sure that we're just not on this soapbox and we're not doing anything to create any type of change. Because I think sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves and just want to talk, but we're not doing anything. We're not signing petitions. We're not talking about these people that have their lives taken away. We're not doing anything to help and assist their families. And so I just don't like to be a person that just talks about it. I'm a person that wants to be about it too. So like I said, I'm probably going to sound like I'm jumping around. Honestly, I pulled my United Together sweatshirt out for this video because I feel like we do have to come together at some point. I know sometimes it's easier to stick to our guns and have our pride not allow us to show empathy, but I don't want to be that person. I'm always the type of person that I'm willing to be corrected. I'm willing to be wrong. I want to learn. I'm learning too. Contrary to popular belief, Black people are, I think, sometimes looked at to educate people, but we're learning too. These are things that we're finding out as well. If I'm being transparent, you know, there was once upon a time where I would look at a situation like Jacob Blake and I would automatically say that there's got to be more to the story. There's got to be more to the story. I would do that, you know. I would say things like, even though I'm so vocal about abortion, you know, and I try to do my best, do my part. If you know, me personally, if I'm going to be someone who is pro-life, I have to be pro-life across the board. I have to be for people's lives across the board. I just cannot, you know, help women choose to not make the decision to abort, you know, and give them the resources and help them financially and give to organizations that help women. But I also have to think about or try to contribute educate myself on the kids at the border too. You know, they're children. The missing indigenous women and girls that are just going missing. The missing children just in our country that are disappearing and that are being sold in sex trafficking, you know, for prostitution, things like that. Our children, this is happening to our kids. I can't just pick and choose. Wrongfully convicted, the Innocence Project. I know I can't do everything, but I have to do what I can do in the capacity that I'm able to do it, me and my husband and our family. And so I just wanted to say that because I'm not going to just sit here and talk about race, but I am putting it into action. Today so happens to be the 67th anniversary of Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech from the March on Washington, and I think it's so fitting to happen this week. One of the most famous parts of that speech was how Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about how his kids would not be judged by their skin color, but by the content of their character. And I think some people can possibly see that as being colorblind. We can't look at color, but color is what makes us us. On the back of the shirt, it says every tribe, every tongue, every nation. And then on the front, it says united together. And so it's okay for our differences to be recognized. That's completely okay. The judgment and the prejudice and the racism, you know, those things aren't okay. You know, I talk about my husband a lot and the fact that he has 5 degrees. He's done a lot of school. And there's been times where my husband has been racially profiled. He's been called out of his name. There's things that have happened in his life. He can be the most stand-up guy. He's been the most stand-up guy. He was an assistant principal of 2 high schools. That's how we met. I was a basketball coach. Let me just throw that in there. I was not a student, okay? Because I wasn't. I was a basketball coach. But he's such a smart man, and I worry, you know, with him because he's also 6'1". He's also, you know, 240 pounds. He's a big black guy. And my fear is people may see him first and judge that and not his character and not the fact that, you know, we do support our community. We do pastor a church. We give to people. We give to organizations. Our church gives to organizations. We try to help not only preach the word of God, but be the hands and feet. Not just give lip service, but really try to change our community and our world in the best way that we can. It's important to us. I am going to get to the Jacob Blake situation. I am also going to talk about Ryan Whitaker. These are 2 men. Jacob Blake, we've all heard about. He's black. Ryan Whitaker was a white man, and he was answering his door. I guess he had issues before. Ryan Whitaker was also shot twice in the back by police after he was trying to comply. And so he answered the door with his firearm in his hand. The police officer in front of him told him to drop the weapon, and as he went to drop the weapon, the officer behind him shot him twice and killed him. And I know Jacob Blake is still alive, but Ryan Whitaker is not. And I will put petitions, or I will put a petition in the comments that people can sign so that this family can also get justice for their brother and son and family member. You know, I remember when I first heard about it, again, you have some people trying to weaponize it, but you have people out there that are fighting against things like police brutality. Police brutality is a lot deeper than just being murdered or killed. Police brutality goes a lot deeper. Like I said before, my husband and I, if we're out and we see an officer, we see a firefighter, we see someone in a military uniform, we live in a military city where there's 2 bases here, we do always try to pay for their meal or their coffee or what have you. That's just kind of how we are. We're big givers. We love to give. That's just kind of our way of giving back to them. And I remember I got pulled over. I was driving at night from work. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had my high beams on to oncoming traffic. And where the city I was in, there's like no lights. And so there's like no one out there. It's like There's nothing. It was the boonies for sure, the boondocks. I got pulled over, 100% my fault. I was driving with my high beams on oncoming traffic. I know that you're not supposed to do that. I forgot. It was late. I was getting off work and the cop pulled me over. Okay, great. Sorry, officer. I said, I was sorry for his time and thanked him for his time and gave him my license and my registration and thinking I was just going to go back to my house. What happened was when he pulled me over, I so happened to pull into the neighborhood that I lived in. And the officer left and I went to pull off and he stopped me and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going home. I actually live in a neighborhood." And he said, "Oh, you live in this neighborhood?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, I'm going to follow you because I want to make sure you live here." Okay. I mean, what am I supposed to say? You're a police officer. I was respectable. I didn't do anything. All I did was driving with my high beams on. The officer followed me home. And he made sure I put the key in the door, and he didn't pull off until I opened the door to make sure I was in that house. The officer, to me, did not believe that I lived in a neighborhood. To him, in my mind, I could not have possibly lived there. I did everything I knew how. I did everything I was taught to do. While, yeah, he didn't shoot me. He didn't brutalize me. He abused his power. He didn't have a right to follow me home. I wasn't under any suspicion of anything else. He just wanted to make sure I lived in that neighborhood. I shouldn't be stopped or made sure that I live in a neighborhood. I don't know if he would have done it if I were white. I don't know. I don't know why he did it. But we can look at things like statistics that tell us that the chances would have been lower. And it doesn't mean it doesn't happen to white people. It just means that it may not happen as often or wouldn't happen if I didn't look like this. And so you have a situation like a Ryan Whitaker and where he's shot twice in the back. You have a situation like a Jacob Blake where he was perceived as a threat because he had a knife afterwards, saying he had a knife on the floorboard. So let's say, yeah, there was a knife on the floorboard. So the officer made the assumption that he could have grabbed the knife and did something. But then you have this 17-year-old murderer that is literally walking to police with his arms up after having just shot 2 people. He shot 3 people, but at that time, after he shot the first one and they were in the street in this video, he shot 2. And he's walking to the police officers with his hands up, and he's not perceived as a threat. However, you have instances like a Jacob Blake. He has a knife on the floorboard, and he's perceived immediately, made the assumption that he would grab it. And honestly, I have things in my car, in my home, that would be considered as weapons. It's not illegal to carry a knife. That's not illegal. You have someone like Philando Castile, who was a registered gun owner. He told the officer where his firearm was so that the officer wouldn't do what he did, and the officer still shot him. But yet you have this guy, this murderer, who is walking with a semi-automatic rifle in front of police, and he's not stopped. They actually drive around him. He's not perceived as a threat. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because what do I do if I carry my firearm? Like, how do I know that I'm doing the right thing? If I don't, I want to tell the officer that I have a weapon in the car, but I'll tell you right now, if I have my weapon in the car, if I have a weapon in the car, there's no way I'm grabbing my wallet or my purse. I'll let the officer know and then he can grab it, but there's no way I'm going to grab it. That's just the things that go through my mind. I will get a little bit more next time into more detail because I don't want to make this video too long, because I literally could be here all day just sharing my thoughts with you guys and just how I feel and just the confusion, the things, the thoughts that go on in my head. You know, you have someone like Tamir Rice who's in the park playing with a toy gun, and he's shot and killed. He's 12 years old. Literally less than 2 seconds after the cop gets out of the car, shoots him and kills him. But yet you have this guy who had just shot 3 people, murdered 2 of them, is walking toward police with a semi-automatic rifle, and he's not perceived as a threat. I don't know, you know. I know people are probably going to rip me apart again in the comments, even though the last time, my last video about race, someone mentioned something about lynching. I won't respond to you if you decide to be racist. I'll just report you to YouTube. And yeah, but I don't know, guys. I don't know. I know I'm really trying to get my words together. I try to be as raw and emotional as I possibly can in moments like these, because I want you guys to hear my heart, to hear how much I care, to see the empathy, to see really just me in raw form. And so, you know, like I said, I won't make this long. I'm going to actually end it here, but come back Tuesday, and I'm going to dig deeper into the Ryan Whitaker and Jacob Blake. And I want to talk about this, and I want to have the conversation. And I want us to learn. I want us to grow so we can be united together. I love you guys. Have a blessed weekend. You guys are the best. I love you. Bye.